They didn't just defeat an army, they burned a nation's pride. On a hot August night in 1814, British soldiers marched straight into Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, a city that was barely more than a construction site. And within hours, the heart of American power was in flames. The Capitol burned, the White House burned, government buildings collapsed in fire and smoke. The young republic, only 38 years old, watched its symbols of democracy turn into ash. This moment is often forgotten, but this was one of the darkest nights in US history. To understand how this could happen, we need to go back to the War of 1812. The United States had declared war on the British Empire. On paper, it sounded bold. In reality, it was reckless. The British were busy fighting Napoleon in Europe. But, once Napoleon fell, Britain suddenly had thousands of experienced soldiers with nothing else to do, and they turned their attention to America. The US government believed Washington was safe. There were few defenses, few soldiers, almost no fortifications. Many leaders assumed the British would never dare to attack the capital itself. They were wrong. British forces landed in Maryland and marched toward Washington almost unopposed. When American troops finally tried to stop them at the Battle of Bladensburg, it turned into chaos. Poor leadership, bad coordination. Soldiers fled. The road to Washington was open. As the British entered the city, President James Madison had already fled. So had most of the government. Only a few civilians remained, watching in shock as enemy troops walked through the streets of their capital. Then, the fires began. The Capitol was set ablaze. The president's house was looted and burned. The Treasury, the War Department, the very buildings meant to represent American strength and independence, were reduced to ruins. For the British, this was revenge. American forces had previously burned parts of York, modern-day Toronto, in Canada. This was payback. But psychologically, the impact on the United States was devastating. Imagine how this felt. The capital of your country, captured and burned by a foreign power, not centuries ago, not in some distant war, but right at the beginning of your national story. Many Americans believed the Republic might not survive. If the British could walk into Washington so easily, what would stop them from doing it again? Or from capturing other cities? And then something strange happened. A massive storm swept over Washington. Torrential rain, violent winds. Some witnesses even described what looked like a tornado tearing through parts of the city. The storm put out many of the fires. British troops were injured, buildings collapsed, chaos broke out. Within a day, the British withdrew. This sudden storm became part of American folklore. Some people saw it as divine intervention, others simply as incredible luck. Either way, the capital was spared total destruction by the weather itself. But the damage was done. The White House had to be rebuilt. The Capitol had to be rebuilt. For months, the United States had no proper seat of government. And yet, this humiliation didn't destroy the nation. It hardened it. The burning of Washington shocked Americans into taking defense seriously. Fortifications were strengthened. The military was reorganized. The idea that the US was untouchable died that night. In a strange way, this disaster helped shape a more resilient country. So the next time you see the White House standing calmly on TV, remember this: there was a night when it stood in flames. And for a few terrifying hours, the future of the United States looked uncertain. History doesn't just change in famous victories. Sometimes, it changes in moments of failure.